DIP package, this CPU couldn't be removed at all. Not because it was cheap, because sockets didn't exist yet. And what came next was a 30-year chain reaction that still shapes every PC you build today. Picture buying a brand new home computer in the late 1970s and realizing there's no way to pull out the processor and drop in a better one. Back then, chips used something called a DIP package, a small rectangular chip with 2 rows of metal legs, soldered or wedged directly onto the board. No socket standard, no swapping, no upgrade path. Want a faster computer? You needed an entirely new board, sometimes an entirely new machine. This wasn't a design flaw. It was the beginning of an entire industry realizing something important. Computers needed to be upgradable, not disposable. So builders started asking a simple question: what if the CPU could just be removed and replaced? Engineers were about to answer that question, and it would change computing forever. Socket 1/Socket 3. Suddenly, replacing a CPU became possible, but insanely dangerous. Ever heard someone say their motherboard just doesn't support a certain CPU? This is where that problem was born. As chips became removable, manufacturers scrambled to create actual socket standards, and Socket 1, then Socket 3, became some of the very first true CPU sockets in mainstream PCs. For the first time, builders could physically pull out an old processor and drop in a new one without replacing the entire motherboard. That was massive. Upgrading a computer suddenly felt possible for regular people, not just engineers. But there was a brutal catch. These sockets held CPUs in place using dozens of thin, fragile pins, and inserting the chip required real force. One wrong angle, one moment of impatience, and you'd bend or snap a pin, instantly killing a processor that cost real money. Builders were thrilled with the freedom and terrified of the process. Somewhere in an engineering lab, someone finally asked the obvious question: why does installing a CPU have to require force at all? Socket 7. This socket could run chips from 2 completely different companies. Imagine upgrading your CPU without ever touching your motherboard, and without caring whether Intel or AMD made the chip. That was Socket 7. In the mid-1990s, before the industry split into hard, incompatible camps, Socket 7 was built as an open standard. Intel, AMD, Cyrix, multiple manufacturers could produce processors that fit the exact same socket. For builders, this was incredible. You could shop around, chase the best price or performance, and never worry about compatibility walls. Honestly, a lot of builders today would kill for this kind of freedom back, but this golden age of cooperation had a shelf life. As CPUs demanded more power and more connections, Socket 7's simple pin layout couldn't keep up. Manufacturers needed something built specifically for their own chips, their own voltages, their own future. So the era of shared sockets quietly ended, and pin counts were about to explode into something far more complicated. Socket 4, 7, 8. Hundreds of tiny gold pins. One mistake ends the CPU. By the early 2000s, CPUs needed dramatically more electrical connections to keep up with rising performance, and Socket 478 was built to handle it. This is where pin grid array sockets really matured. A lever mechanism known as ZIF, zero insertion force, let builders lower the CPU into place without any pressure at all, then lock it down with a simple flip of a switch. It was a huge leap for home PC building. Installation finally felt safe, controlled, and repeatable. But underneath that convenience sat a serious vulnerability. Hundreds of hair-thin pins lined the bottom of every CPU, and if even one of them bent during handling, the processor could become instantly useless. Builders were now trusted with real precision hardware and real consequences if they got careless. Reliability had improved. Risk hadn't disappeared. It had just moved somewhere new. And Intel was about to make one of the boldest decisions in CPU history. What if the pins didn't belong on the processor at all? LG A775, the CPU, lost every single pin it had. Most people assume the fragile pins always sit on the processor. LG A775 completely flipped that assumption. Instead of pins on the chip, Intel moved every single contact point onto the motherboard itself, leaving the CPU with nothing but flat gold pads on its underside. This was a genuine turning point. Processors became far more durable. You could handle them, even mishandle them slightly, and they'd usually survive. That mattered as CPUs kept getting more powerful and more expensive, but the trade-off was brutal. Now the motherboard carried hundreds of impossibly thin, delicate pins, and if even one bent while installing a CPU, you weren't replacing a chip anymore. You were replacing the entire board. The risk hadn't disappeared. It had simply moved to the more expensive component. Intel had made its bet. But across the industry, AMD was watching closely, and for years, it refused to follow. AM41 sockets survived for almost a decade. Have you ever seen one motherboard support CPUs released years, even generations apart? That's exactly what AMD built with AM4. While competitors pushed new sockets every couple of years, AMD committed to keeping AM4 alive far longer than anyone expected. Builders could buy a budget motherboard today and drop in a dramatically more powerful processor years later without replacing anything else. For everyday PC builders, this was massive. Upgrades became cheaper, more predictable, and far less wasteful. Some builders would honestly trade the newest features just to get this kind of long-term value again. But AM4 was still built on the older pin grid design, and eventually that architecture hit a wall. Faster memory, more power delivery, more connections. The old pin layout simply couldn't stretch any further. AM4 had given builders years of loyalty and savings, but even AMD couldn't hold on to the old design forever. Something had to change. AM5 AMD finally abandoned the design it defended for a decade. You'd expect AM5 to be just another small AMD update. It wasn't. This was AMD's biggest socket redesign in years, and it meant saying goodbye to the pin-based design that made AM4 so beloved. AM5 moved to a flat, pin-free layout, similar to Intel's approach, built specifically to handle DDR5 memory, faster PCIe lanes, and far higher power demands than AM4 was ever designed for. For builders, this meant a genuine platform built for the next several years, not just the next CPU release. But the switch wasn't painless. A M5 required new motherboards, often new coolers, and significantly higher mounting pressure to keep the CPU properly seated. Builders upgrading from AM4 couldn't simply drop in a new chip anymore. The entire platform had changed underneath them. AMD had made its move into the future. But across the aisle, Intel wasn't just keeping pace. It was about to push pin density further than ever before. LGA 1851, nearly 2,000 contact points on a single socket. Today's processors look deceptively simple from the outside. Underneath, they're anything but. LG A1851 was built for a completely different era of computing. One shaped by AI workloads, ultra-fast DDR5 memory, next-generation PCIe lanes, and power delivery demands older sockets could never have handled. Almost 2,000 individual contact points now sit on the motherboard, each one requiring precise mounting pressure and careful installation to work correctly. This isn't just an upgrade. It's a completely different philosophy of building a socket, one designed around the next decade of computing, not just the next CPU launch. And that brings us to the real lesson buried inside all 8 of these sockets. The safest CPU installation was never really about being careful with your hands. It was about understanding the socket before you ever bought the processor. So out of everything you just saw, Socket 7's cross-brand freedom, AM4's decade-long lifespan, or today's AM5 and LG A1851, which one do you think changed PC building the most?